Now this, just how does a suspected serial killer accused of raping young girls and women appear on a dating game show? It is the old dating game back in the 70s. That's what we have in Southern California. That's what's going on here. Now, Bachelor number one, that's who he was back on the show then, is acting as his own defense and using an old clip from the dating game to try and win the jury over?
Rodney Alcala is accused in the murder of a 12-year-old girl, and here's his defense. A 1978 YouTube clip from an episode of the dating game.
Bachelor number one.
Yes.
What's your best time?
The best time is at night, nighttime.
Why do you say that?
Because that's the only time there is.
Now, Alcala won the date with the Bachelorette, and now he's hoping it will help him win his case. The former photographer is acting as both his own attorney and a witness in the trial in Orange County, California. Alcala has been behind bars for 30 years. He was sentenced to death twice for the murder of Robin Samsoe. She was just 12 years old when she was kidnapped and killed June 20th, 1979, and her body was found not far from Alcala's home. But again, both verdicts were later overturned. Now in his third trial, Alcala wants to prove that he wore a certain pair of gold earrings underneath his 70s-style haircut. The earrings are key to the prosecution's case. Robin Samsoe's mother testified that her daughter's earrings were the same pair found in Alcala's storage unit. Alcala showed the jury his appearance on the game show in court, hoping it would help his defense prove he owned the earrings almost a year before Samsoe was killed. But here's the thing. The clip isn't very clear and only shows Alcala's earrings for a few seconds. Now, Rodney Alcala is also charged with killing 4 other women in the Los Angeles area from 1977 to 1979. And one of those women is 18-year-old Jill Barkham. She was killed just day before Samsoe disappeared, and now her sister is waiting for justice.
She was very kind. I don't think there was a mean bone in her body. What's hard for me is to know that that was the last face she saw in her life.
The 66-year-old admitted under cross-examination that he lied to investigators in 1979 about taking pictures of a 15-year-old girl. But Alcala says those pictures actually prove that he wasn't near the victims when they disappeared.
Very intriguing case here. Let's bring back criminal defense attorney John Manuelian. John, well, first off, what do you make of this? And the earrings, are they that big of a puzzle piece in this case?
Well, what Mr. Alcala is doing is showing the video that shows the earring from a certain angle, and he claims there's an issue as to whether or not it's one earring or 2 earrings, and is trying to say that the video shows him wearing one long earring when in fact it was 2 earrings. It's actually poppycock bullocks. It's nothing but showmanship in front of the jury. I think is wasting the jury's time. I don't think the jury's following him in the third-party way that is asking questions regarding himself. He says something like, well, Mr. Alcala, what happened next? And he would answer the question. He would say, well, this is what happened next. It's distracting. It's confusing. It's a show. I don't think the jury's going to like it. And also, notably, is just arguing that one Samsoe case. He's letting the other 4 cases go. And there's this legal significance. The significance is years later, DNA was actually discovered or had the ability by the police department to use that. But back in 1978, 79, they didn't have that ability.
It is fascinating when you look at when you throw in the dating game and the earrings, the other 4 cases. So how do you look at it, John? When you look at this, is he basically admitting guilt to the other 4?
Well, he's staying silent, and silence will be deemed in the jury's eyes as acceptance for the crimes because he's not refuting it. He's just refuting the Samsoe case. But the reason he's refuting the Samsoe case is because they don't have the same kind of technology and evidence that they have in the other cases. So basically, he's fighting the only fight that he thinks in his mind that he could win.
Gotcha. Okay. And we know he's a pretty smart guy, pretty high IQ, and maybe
right.
Probably that's why he thinks he can defend himself. Well, beyond the earrings, what other evidence do they have in the Samsoe case? Because that's front and center right now.
Well, they could have the clothing, they could have fibers, they could still have the hair from back in 1978. Remember, DNA could still be tested. Even though the evidence could be old, it could be retested. But my understanding of this case is that there's really not a lot of evidence to test. And that's why that Mr. Alcala is focusing more on this count than the other counts.
Okay. And again, so he's been in prison basically 30 years. And then in 2006, they linked him via, like you're talking about, some new technology, DNA, to these other 4 murders, right?
Right, correct.
And pretty convincing evidence, right?
It is. And I want to go back to a point that you made as far as representing yourself. We as attorneys have a saying, he who represents himself has a fool for a client. There's a reason why you don't want to represent yourself, because it looks silly. You don't know the evidentiary rules. You don't know what the burden is. You don't know how to convince a jury that the prosecution hasn't met the highest level of burden, the highest level of certainty under United States law, which is reasonable doubt. So he's really, if he has any chance in his case, he's really throwing it by representing himself.
Yeah, okay, sure looks like it. John, thanks. Again, a fascinating case.